Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Robin Craig Live. I'm broadcasting from Houston, Texas, where I'm thrilled to announce that we've been getting some wonderful rain. My grass is growing like crazy. Texas Lawn Geeks came out and put some chemicals out and some insect killer. I had ants all over the place and weeds galore. And with this rain, I'm telling you, my yard looks really great. So if you are in the greater Houston area, contact Texas Lawn, Lawn Geeks. They do an excellent job. They're timely, they're courteous, and they know what they're doing. Now, I want to announce that tonight I'm going to be giving away another case of Beanitos, and these are the wonderful chips that are made from beans rather than corn or potatoes. They're gluten-free, they have no trans fats, they're so delicious, and they're low glycemic. So stay tuned so that you'll have an opportunity to win a case of these. And on the last show, Ellen Greenway won a case, and I was so happy because I know she's been trying to win for months, and she's one of the regular viewers, and she tried and tried and tried, and finally she did the right thing to win. So stay tuned to win those. And tonight our topic is widowed wisdom. I'm going to be speaking to two widows and one widower about what they've learned, what they've experienced after having lost their spouses, and how they've learned lessons from that. But first, it's time for the critter update. Well, first of all, Indigo Sherry is sitting right there. Can you see her? She wants to say hi to everybody. This is my little co-host, my little cat. And here she goes in my lap. There we go. Um, we've had really no possum and no raccoon activity, and that just makes me as happy as can be, because you know I've been just plagued with that for so long. But I've enjoyed the lizards. Did you guys see my Facebook recently? I posted pictures of lizards that I was photographing in strange places. I was walking by a huge aloe vera plant, and I saw a lizard who was just literally had his little hands wrapped around one of the little stems. He was so cute and he was so green, he was really difficult to see, but I took a picture from far away and then I zoomed in and people were cracking up. So then I posted one. I have this big sun on my wall. It's made out of clay that I got in Laredo, Mexico years ago. And a lizard, it has a mouth, but the mouth is open, and the lizard was hanging out downwards, so it looked like the sun had a big green tongue. It was hilarious. So if you haven't seen that, go to my Facebook page and check it out. It's a little springtime fun thing for you. So beyond that, I did have a baby bird. She's not getting attention. Honey, this won't work. How about you stay right there? Is that good? Okay, good. I had a baby bird that was dead in my pool, and I had been working on the pool all day, and I went out there and I saw something from a distance, and I thought it was a big piece of bark off of one of my palm trees, and as I got closer, it was a new little bitty bird, and I thought, isn't that a shame that I wasn't out there when it happened, so I could have fished him out, but anyhow, that's happened a couple of times, and it's really kind of sad. Now, before we get going on the news, I want to share a couple of news stories that I found. One of them was amazing. A lot of people who watch the show, of course, we've all lost our spouses. And we've lost our spouses a lot of different ways, all hours of the night. I mean, the cause of death has been crazy. But this little story was just, I thought, oh my goodness, what a horrible thing to deal with. It was from the Washington Associated Press, and it was an article written by Pauline Jelenic. Captain Bruce Kevin Clark's wife says that her husband fell forward while they were talking via Skype, and she saw a bullet hole in the closet behind him. So, of course, that raised the question as to whether or not he had been shot. Well, Christopher Gray, a spokesman for the Army Criminal Investigation Command, said that no bullet wound was found in Clark's body. So an autopsy is being performed to find the cause of death. But can you imagine that? Can you imagine having a conversation with your spouse? And who knows what that conversation entailed? I'm sure it was private. I mean, it could have been sexual. It could have been something serious. It could have been discussing a problem. But in the middle of the conversation, to watch your spouse fall over and to not be there to help, isn't that just terrible? Gosh, I just hated hearing that. Oh, I see Donna, Ron and Donna Hooker. Thank you for joining us. I'm so excited. I see the chat room is building. That really does my heart good. I have my trusty flower pen, and I'm going to write myself a really quick note here. But can you imagine losing your spouse during a conversation on Skype? That was just heartbreaking. Okay, now the other thing that I wanted to mention, we're talking about things that we've learned being widowed and things that we can pass on to others. Well, all of you guys know that I am a huge advocate of taking care of your estate planning. You've got to have your documents together to ensure that your assets are distributed as you desire. But one thing that we don't think about, what about all of your online stuff? When I saw this article, I thought I really need to share this with you guys in case you missed it, because it's something that we all have to think about. Now, I see Indigo Sherry is still with us, and note that she is wearing her new red collar that my sister-in-law Sherry, who she's named after, gave her. And she's also got a red leash, so we're going to start learning how to walk with that. Okay, now this article says half of Americans with children will die without a will. That's like crazy. This was an article written by Lisa Scherzer for The Exchange on May the 6th. If you died tomorrow, who would inherit your assets? Who would inherit your house? What about your Snapfish album? If you don't know about Snapfish, it's an online site where you can upload and share photographs. And all of us are using all kinds of sites like that, but if we died, what would happen to those sites? If you're like half of American adults with children, you have not made a will, and therefore, legally speaking, you haven't answered these questions. You may know in your head, but if you don't have it on paper, legally speaking, this is a matter that has not been resolved. A survey from rocketlawyer.com, a legal services website last month, found that 50% of Americans with children do not have a will. Even more alarming, 41% of baby boomers, which are ages 55 to 64, don't have one. That's almost half of the baby boomers. I mean, it's like, how long do we think we're going to live, for heaven's sake? You know what I mean? The top 3 reasons that were cited by a survey for people not having a will was procrastination, a belief that they don't need one, and cost. Well, honey, guess what? If you don't have one, the state's just going to come in and distribute your stuff and take a lot of it. And I don't think anybody's working hard so that the state can come in and take their stuff. And I know a lot of people procrastinate because we don't see death coming. We think, I'm healthy, I feel good, I got a while to deal with that. But we don't know when a natural disaster is going to happen, an accident, etc., etc. Okay, this goes on to say, so what happens if you die without a will? That's known as dying intestate. It's one word, I-N-T-E-S-T-A-T-E, intestate. That means you have died without a will. Well, the state will decide how your property will be distributed. Shifts in demographic patterns are making estate plans even more critical. As the survey notes, in the past 5 years, the number of unmarried couples has jumped. We all know a lot of people are choosing not to actually get married, but just to test the waters and to live together, and they don't feel a need for it. And then certainly there are a lot of long-term couples like Oprah Winfrey and Stedman Graham and Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. They've been together for years and years and years and years. And Goldie even has a son with Kurt Russell, but yet they never desired to get married. If you throw a child into the mix, then the surviving partner does not have the legal rights that married couples have by default. No doubt you've heard about the digital afterlife. According to the Rocket Lawyer survey, 63% of respondents do not know what happens to their digital assets when they die. Traditional estate planning doesn't take into account this emerging class of assets. It's considered an asset. It's not just thinking about what you want to happen on Facebook or perhaps an online dating site. It's a lot more than that. Your survivors may not even be aware of the extent of your online presence. And that's a whole other thing. I think I have so many online sites that I have set up accounts for and nobody has any idea but me. Consider your online bank accounts, your email accounts, your iPod with all of its music, blogs, photo albums, YouTube, eBay, PayPal, your ebook collection, job search sites, etc., etc., etc. There are so many sites. I know you're getting the picture though. Even U.S. savings bonds. If you have U.S. savings bonds, that's online. The most popular online accounts like Facebook, Gmail, LinkedIn, and Twitter, they have now developed deceased user policies, which provide the family or executor of the deceased user with information about what is required to access the account. It's amazing. I mean, everybody has a need to do that, but I'm glad that these larger sites have done that, but everybody needs to do that. What you need to do, because this is a problem that most people don't know that we have, is to make a list of your accounts and passwords and print it, because you never know when your computer's going to die. You also never know if your loved ones can access your computer. It may all be right there spelled out for someone, but if they can't access it, that's not going to help them. So to print it out is key. According to Rocket Lawyer and LegalZoom, two online legal sites, they've introduced services to address this rising need, allowing consumers to create a trust to manage their digital assets, which I think is super good for them. And what you need to do is list your significant assets, your financial advisors, your retirement plans, divorce papers, premarital agreements, and any other such documents. Gather employment benefit statements. If you have benefits that are coming to you, and who knows, you could be in a coma when those are deserving. And if your loved ones don't know about it, then nothing's going to happen. You have to apply for that. But you should get your employment benefit statements, your life insurance policies, deeds to real property, partnership and business agreements, and the last 2 years of income taxes, and to have all of that together. If you're married, know that you and your spouse both need a will. You don't do a will for just one person. You need to decide who you want to inherit your property. And after you make your first choice, I totally recommend putting a second and a third choice. So if your first choice dies before you, you don't have to run down and redo your documents. You want to choose an executor to handle your estate, and that can be really difficult. That can cause a lot of problems when you appoint somebody that others don't approve of, but at the end of the day, it's your decision and your decision alone. So choose the person who you think is most likely to execute things as you desire. And once again, I recommend having a second or third choice. And then if you have little kids, you need to appoint a guardian. That's the most important thing of all. Who do you want to raise your children? And you need to pick somebody who can manage your children's property. If you leave them your home or your land or whatever it is you have, whoever the person is that's going to take care of your kids should be responsible for handling that. And that's a huge responsibility that I really think you need to discuss with that person to make sure they're willing to take it on, and so that they're not caught off guard. And then identify other decision makers who can carry out your health and money choices if you become incapacitated. And that's a living will. We all need a living will, and we need a power of attorney to designate people who can sign our checks and take care of our personal business. And with that information, you can create a will online or hire an estate planning attorney. But remember, they can charge between $100 to $500 an hour, and maybe even more, depending on where you go to. So enough of that. I do see, I'm looking at the chat room here. Julia says that she has guardians for her daughter Marina, who's now 18. Excellent. That's beautiful, beautiful. I really love that. And Sandy says that her kids are grown, 39, 38, 36, and 33. Boy, you sure did yours. Julia's are 37, 25, and 29. Wow, that's excellent. And Amy, that's great. You have written a 40-page medical power of attorney. Good for you. Good for you. It's so important for us to do this. Well, guys, I've got 3 people lined up tonight, so without further ado, I know that Nyla is going to be calling us any moment. She's a regular viewer of Robin Craig Live, and she's going to be sharing with us her pearls of wisdom gleaned from her widowhood. And life is a journey. There she is now. So let's see what she has to say. Hello, Miss Nyla. How are you?
Hello, Miss Robin. Hey, y'all.
Can y'all hear Miss Nyla okay?
It's Nyla from Oklahoma.
There she is. I'm delighted to have you. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm having a little trouble seeing, but not too bad.
I know it. Nyla just had double cataract surgery, so the fact that she's even with us tonight is a true blessing, and the fact that she was willing to share some good information is even better. I love that. So, Nyla, you've been a widow for going on almost 4 years.
Yes, it'll be 4 years on August the 8th, 2008.
Okay, and what lessons that you feel are most important? I know we've all learned so much. What do you feel is important that you'd like to share?
Well, when you asked me to do this, I sat and wrote my 10 things of lessons learned the hard way. As we all know, it's all been hard.
Yes.
But hopefully I can read my own handwriting since I did just jot them down. So here goes. First off, everyone, understand these are not absolute. None of these tips are in stone. Everyone is different. These are just what worked for me.
Yes.
Some are not even my own.
Yes.
A lot of them I learned here on your show, Robin, on Robin Craig Live, and at Camp Widow, which I highly recommend to everyone. Okay, here goes. First, know that you're loved. Know that you're loved by everyone that's still here with you here on earth, and that your loved one that has passed still loves you in heaven.
That's really
Don't
great.
Forget that. Don't ever give up.
That's great, because sometimes we don't feel the love. When we lose our spouse, our big, great love is gone, and we can feel so isolated. So that's really good to know that there are other people who still love us.
Well, and a lot of ladies that I've seen and a couple of widowers I've seen, they just want to give up. Yeah, we all do. Everybody wants to do that.
Yes.
But I have to keep getting back to the fact that I have children and grandchildren and my siblings and a lot of my friends that I would hurt them if I gave up. So you can't.
Yes.
You can't give up no matter how much you want to.
Yes. Okay.
Next, number 3, allow yourself to grieve.
Yes.
I'm top on this. I was in the beginning just stuffing everything down for everybody else's benefit, and I wouldn't grieve. I wouldn't let people see me grieve.
Yes.
I just stuff everything down, and you can't do that.
Yes.
Give grief the natural time that our normal human emotions need.
Yes, and that's so important to also note that grief has a different timetable for every individual, so to not let people tell you that you should be done grieving. Allow yourself to grieve.
You don't need to grieve in their way.
Yes.
Everyone grieves in their own way.
Yes, excellent.
Every single one of us. I mean, we all are connected by our grief, the loss of spouse, loss of child.
Yes. Yes.
Loss of significant other, loss of fiance, which is still in my book married. If you were that close to the altar.
Yes.
But go ahead and just let yourself, because in time those feelings will lessen. They never go away.
Yes.
But that sharp to the gut, deep grief doesn't hurt as bad anymore.
Yes.
As all of you know, in a private chat room here 2 weeks ago, I posted how I was having one of those days. Well, I allowed myself to have that day. I went ahead and I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried. And then I just picked myself up and said, okay, that's enough. You're done. And I could almost hear my husband say, Nyla, just stop it. It's time. Fourth, don't stay in the deep. As I just said, don't, because if you allow it to consume you, it will. And then what you've done is you've allowed the ugly thing called death that took our loved ones, you've allowed it to rob you of living. And you can't do that because you know as well as I do that your loved one wants you to be happy. They wouldn't want you to stay down there every single day. You have to pull yourself back up, or you will become seriously ill and seriously sick.
Yes, that's beautiful, Nyla. Excellent. Excellent advice.
I was real close to that, so I know where I speak. So, also, I don't believe. I know that John can see me. That's what my belief is. I know that he can hear me. That's what the Bible says, just like the man that wanted to warn his brother, but he can't. He can't contact me directly, but I still feel him at times. And so I know that he would not want me to stay where I am. And I know that my tears and my heartache probably hurts him, which was robbing him of his happiness and his glory. Since he is out of his sickness, he's out of his pain, and I can't allow myself to do that to him.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's my belief. Anyway, that's the lesson I've learned for myself.
Yes, that's so beautiful. And you know, and it's true that it's hard to detach when you've been so close to someone to the point of marriage, or like we always talk about, we include the unwedded widows as well, those who were engaged or had a life partner.
And that's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Yes, it is. And we know that the one that we have lost wants us to be happy, so we have to figure out how to detach, and it definitely takes time to do that. But those are definitely good words of wisdom. Okay, keep going.
Okay, the fifth thing that I said, I've told myself, and I just have to keep telling myself this over and over in my head and in my heart, a mantra almost. I am alive. I'm alive for a reason. I don't know what it is. Only God knows what it is. He's the only one that can see in the future. I have to keep remembering that I am important, and I need to remember that I am alive. And
Yes.
I know that I'm needed, if for no other reason, by my fellow widows and widowers, because otherwise, because of this journey, I probably would have never met all of you. And that
Yes.
has enriched my life. It comes back to me.
Yes. And Nyla, that's really so great right there, because it is true that even though our loss is intense, look at what we've gained. There are so many of us who now have connected, and we are like really tight. We're a really tight group of people, and odds are we would have never met had we not been widowed. So that's good, just to look for the positives that happen from the changes after spousal loss. That's beautiful. Okay.
Right. And number 6, reach out. Don't allow yourself to be alone so much. Yes, we all have to have our alone time. We have to. But don't allow yourself to be alone all the time. Reach out to other people, not necessarily in your grief, but reach out. You see a child that needs a hand up. You see an older person. You see another widow brother and sister that needs a little encouragement. Give it, because it always comes back to you.
Yes.
You will
Yes.
find joy again, not the joy that you had with your partner. That will never, ever be replaced. But
Yes.
you will find laughter. You will find love again. It's just different. That's the lesson I learned there. It's a different relationship, just like the one I have with all 3 of my daughters is different. Everyone that crosses your path is a different relationship.
Yes, and I love the
There's
fact,
different love.
I love that you're talking about just reaching out and not being alone, because it's very isolating to be grieving, because we don't feel comfortable crying as hard as we cry when we're grieving in front of others. And most people try to stifle our tears. And I think we understand that we just really need to get that out. But you can go too far with it and spend too much time alone to your own detriment. So I love that. Reaching out to others, it totally comes back to us. It's beautiful.
Well, you have to just get out there and allow yourself to live. Don't be
Yes.
afraid that by loving and laughing and, having joy again and just living will erase what you had with your significant other. That's not going to ever be erased. In
Yes.
time, because you're able to laugh and love again, the good memories will overtake the pain and the ugliness of grief. It will overtake it, and you'll be allowed to remember your husband, your wife, your partner with a smile, which is what I caught myself doing this afternoon as I was writing this. I actually smiled when I looked at John's picture on the mantle because I know he's okay with this.
Yes.
Okay.
Isn't that
Yeah.
great? And you know, and that's funny that you mentioned photographs because for a while, I know for me, it was really hard to look at my husband's picture. And then after a while, I craved looking at it. I wanted to remember every detail of his face.
That you can't allow yourself to be only in that. You have to be able to remember that in your heart and move forward and have that picture as a reminder
Yes.
that I actually know a widow here who that's all she does is sit on her couch and hug the picture of her spouse.
Oh.
And you can't do that. That's not healthy. That's
No.
not healthy grieving.
No.
That's not healthy for you or
No.
the people around you.
No.
Which I didn't want to. I tried to protect my children in the beginning, and I can't.
Yes.
I need them to grieve in their own way. But at the same time, when they're moving forward, I don't bring them back down again.
Yes.
And that's what I feel she does.
Yes.
Also, let me see, take care of yourself. Eat right, which I have to still learn for myself daily. Sleep. Get yourself some good sleep. If you're having trouble sleeping, which all of us have gone through this,
Yes.
is we get up in the middle of the night and wander the house.
Yes.
You have to either find natural herbs, go to a doctor, whatever. You need that sleep. Your body has to have the correct food. It has to have the correct sleep pattern.
Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, your grief is compounded. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And you're right. Sleep is the most healing thing that we can do for our bodies. And when we're all upset and we're distraught and we're grieving, it's usually this good night's rest is what just goes out the door. But it is important to talk to your doctor about it. And like she said, you can try melatonin and other natural things at the vitamin stores, but do whatever you can in order to sleep well, because that's a big part of the healing. Very good, Nyla.
Exactly, and this part, I'd like to approach my daily life with a little bit of humor. I have to laugh. If I make a day without laughter, I've wasted 24 hours. And if I don't feel like laughing, I find some reason to laugh. But talk to yourself. Talk to them. Write with them. Just like I did the other day. I couldn't find a screwdriver I needed to fix something. And I was not quite cussing. I did throw a couple out there, but I was yelling at him, why can't I find a screwdriver? I know you had that screwdriver here somewhere. Where is it? And my neighbors had the garage door open. My neighbors are looking at me like, she's finally lost it. Until the neighbor walks over with his screwdriver and handed it to me about 10 feet away, like, don't get too close to me. So, and then I started laughing at myself, which you have to laugh at.
And you do, and
you have to laugh at a lot of these things that we're doing.
And if you can't find a reason to laugh, when you reach a certain point, go rent a film that is a comedy, because laughter makes us feel better. And it's really important. I mean, it takes a while to find the laughter. It really does. You can't just lose somebody you love and start laughing. But as you progress a little bit, understand that laughter is very good medicine. That's great, Nyla. Excellent.
And the final thing is take a lesson from this journey that we are forced on every day. Start your day with prayer. Start your day, your daily life, as if it was your last.
Yes.
Take that lesson, because we all know that lesson, that
Yes.
life is so short.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that use that term that really don't understand.
Yes.
We do. We
Yes.
get that part of it. So every day, find something to laugh at, even when you want to cry.
Yes.
Trust me, when you find something, you will start giggling.
Yes.
Find something to smile about, even when you think your heart is just bleeding out of your chest.
Yes.
Find something to smile about.
Yes. And I like that you
Find
mentioned I like that you mentioned prayer. I once read that prayer is worry turned inside out. And I love thinking about that. So every time I'm concerned about something, or if I'm feeling sad, or if something's not going well, I just start praying and I feel better just because I've communicated with God about what it is that I'm dealing with. I love that you mentioned that, Nyla. That's great.
I have a constant prayer in my head that goes on constantly as Lord have mercy, and that encompasses so much. Just
Yes.
those three little words
Yes.
all day long.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's amazing what those words can do for you and what He can do for you.
Yes, and I know, my relationship with God has strengthened since becoming widowed, and I've learned to rely on God more and more, and I call upon Him, for everything, and that's a big plus, I feel.
And find love, just like the little piece I said about reaching out. Find love by giving to those who need it as much as you do. When
Yes.
you return things to people, a smile, a laughter, your love, it always comes back to you.
Yes, and there are so many people who are hurting, and even though we're hurting, you're right. If we reach out to somebody else that's hurting in some way, we make them feel better, and that in turn makes us feel better. That's beautiful.
And this is the one little thing I've always had in my head, that those three things are like rabbits. If you give them away, they multiply.
I love that.
And the very, 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 very last thing, and keep this next to your heart. Remember, when you increase your love and your happiness, love and happiness that your spouse or your significant other in heaven is
Yes.
multiplied.
Yes. That is so beautiful, Nyla. Thank you so much for that. I knew you were going to be great. I didn't know what you were going to say, but those are really wonderful, wonderful tips, and certainly gives me a lot to think about too. Thank you so much for sharing with us tonight.
Not bad for an Okie, I guess.
No, you got it going on, girlfriend. I really appreciate you so much. And I know you're in the chat room, so stick around because we're going to talk to Terry McCandless next. You're in Oklahoma and Terry's in Missouri. So thank you so much.
Love you guys.
Love you
Bye.
too. I know Terry's going to call next. I wanted to say hi to Julie. I know you're waving at me, sweetie, and I'm waving back. I'm so glad that you're here tonight, Julie. Delighted. I'm always happy to see everybody. And boy, and Amy, I'm thrilled that you're here. The chat room is just like lighting up. It's beautiful. Hello? Hey, what's your name?
This is Terry.
I know it is. I'm playing with you. Well, so Terry, you have been widowed almost 9 months. Your beautiful wife, Melody, died on August the 8th, and you're almost 9 months into it. So Nyla's almost 4 years out, so she's clearly had a lot more time to learn and to think about this. But I wanted to talk to you as well, just to see what have you learned in the short time that you have been widowed.
Well, I'm still in that a little bit of a dazed state. I mean, I found your website about a month after Melody died. She died August 25th. And just started by listening to you and listening to the people that you had on there, and then started reading all the comments. And I tell you what, it's amazing how much just, the people's on there. You type in something, I'm having problems with it, I have problems with that, and suddenly there's 50 different suggestions coming out as to how to everybody is trying to help.
Okay, so it sounds like one thing that you have learned is to reach out and connect with others who are walking the same path because you learn from them.
Yes, and and as time has gone on, I try to help out wherever I can.
Yes.
I found out that it makes me feel good to try to help somebody out.
Yes, and what what you're reiterating is exactly what we just said with Nyla. When you reach out to somebody else, you feel better, even if you make them feel better. If your goal was to help someone else, in the end, you feel better, and that's a gigantic plus, really huge. I love that.
Yeah, I tell you what, this first year has been kind of rough. You know, I mean, you had a good show on how to handle the holidays,
Yes.
and that helped me get through that. Now, I'm lucky in a way. I've got two boys, neither one's married. I live in Missouri. They live down in Florida. However, my parents' family is all in this area. I did a count here a while back, and between my two parents, I have 50 aunts and uncles.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I've got quite a bit of support. I've got one aunt, she lost her husband just before Christmas last year, 2010. So she was going through the same thing I was going through about a year ahead of me. And
Wow.
we've been pretty close. I mean, she only lives about a quarter mile from me. So
That's great.
I stop in there, her place every so often, or she comes over here, we're on the phone all the time. And, you know, aunts and uncles, they're always trying to help out wherever they can. Just, you know, sometimes I stop in and say, I just need a hug.
Yes.
And I get it.
Yes. And that's so beautiful, Terry. That's something else that you just hit the nail on the head. We need to be hugged, for heaven's sake. And I saw an article that said if you're really going to thrive and really move forward and excel in life, you need 12 hugs a day. I don't know about you, but I'm running a little short.
Well, yeah, the guys at the office don't want to hug too much.
Well, and you have to be careful. You're right. People can take everything the wrong way, but yeah, just a hug, the physical contact and the energy that is transferred when you hug somebody is so beautiful. And that's one thing that you miss so much of when you lose your spouse or significant other. The physical contact is just missing. So if you have people that just come up and hug you and give you a real hug, not one of those that's like, 5 miles apart where it's like you've got something wrong with you, but a real hug, it does wonders. Thank you for mentioning that. I love that.
Well, I know, like the very first night after she died, I was laying in the bed, and I was always used to I could reach out and take her hand or whatever, and it really hit me that night that I'm not going to do that anymore. And I know it hits everybody the same way. I mean, everybody's different, but it's still the same type of thing. And it took me a long time before I could really start sleeping at night.
Yes, I know it. The sleeping alone is so difficult, and none of us like it. And even if you had a snoring spouse, you'd be happy to have them back. It's just hard to sleep alone, and it's hard to get adjusted to it. Do you have a big bed, a king-size bed?
It's queen size, but yeah, it's a big bed.
Where do you sleep in the bed? Do you still sleep on your side, or have you migrated?
I tended to migrate more to the middle of the bed.
Okay. Okay, I know some people have done that. Here I am, it'll be 7 years for me in August, and I still sleep in the very same spot on the same side in a king-size bed. It's kind of odd. I analyze that quite a bit, and I don't have an answer for that, but I'm still right over on the side.
Well, I've got sleep apnea, so I'm on a BiPAP machine, so I pretty well have to stay to one side of the bed. The hose only lets me go so far.
Yes.
But I've taken over the whole bed.
Yes, my father-in-law has that, so I know that machine. I know what you're talking about. It's kind of like having a leash when you go to bed at night, but it does wonders for the body.
Yeah.
So that's great. How has it been in regards to just the loneliness for you?
I had to force myself to go out. Actually, Sunday night, I decided I'm going to go out and see. I went and saw the Avengers movie. It's the first time I'd been to a walk-in theater in about 10 years.
What? Good for you.
And so, I mean, it was, I can always say, I'm going to watch movies on TV or on the computer, but I figured, nope, I'm going to go out and enjoy myself for a change. And I'll go out and eat once in a while or just go out and see some friends. but I've got to force myself into doing it. Otherwise,
Mhm.
I'm just going to sit here by myself.
I know it, and that's what Nyla was just talking about, that we have to get out. We cannot just stay home in the isolation, and it's hard. And I remember being there too, where I had to force myself out. Like, I'm not happy being home alone. I've cried and cried and cried. I can't just stay home and cry. But then when you make the decision to go out, it's still hard.
Well, I live in a real small town. I mean, we have population 243 people, so it's a seriously small town.
Okay.
So if I've got to go to a different town if I'm going to go catch a movie or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of times, Saturdays or Sunday, I'll go to church. I go to a little country church, and but then I'll come back to the house and just kind of sit there. Well, okay, me and the dog. What are we going to do now?
No.
And every so often I said, let's just hop in the car and go. Yeah, we just go for a cruise somewhere.
Well, and you just hit on a key point. If you live alone, getting a pet can be the nicest thing that you can do for yourself. And look at that, right on cue. My little Indigo Sherry jumped up. She said, I like this part of the conversation. Here she goes, getting in my lap once again. I had a dog and a cat when I lost my husband. I'm now down to one cat, but I'm so grateful to have her. She's such a good friend, and really just helps me so much with just having movement, something else to think about. She lets me kiss her all the time. She gets that look on her face like, oh, will she just please stop? But she allows that. And so I think that was very smart of you to get your dog Bo Diddley. That's a cute name, because dogs are always ready to jump in the car and take off, and they make really good little friends when you're by yourself. That's beautiful, Terry.
Well, Melody actually got me the dog as a Father's Day present 3 years ago.
Oh, so you had the dog
That's
before.
from her that I still got.
Okay, good. Well, and so, and like I said, I had a dog when my husband died, and now I haven't gotten one because I don't really have my work stabilized. I'm here, there, and everywhere, and dogs take a little bit more care. But if you have a pet, that can be a really good excuse to get out and take them for a walk, and you're actually walking yourself. You're getting some good exercise too, which is really good for the body.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And, Nyla was saying something earlier about one of the things you need to do is go out and do something for somebody else. Well, I found out that makes me feel good. Now, anybody seen my picture on Facebook knows that I'm Santa Claus.
Yes, you're very handsome, Santa Claus.
And I don't need a pillow.
That's funny, Terry. You look good, though. You look great.
I mean, I used to be in Boy Scouts. I used to be in Cub Scouts, and I was always Santa Claus for them. And I still get kids, see me at the mall or something like that, and they'll kind of eyeball me a little bit there. Are you really him? And I said, well, what do you think? It's fun to have fun like that. And I found out that once in a while, if I go to a restaurant, I'll just pick somebody in the restaurant and tell the waitress, give me their ticket. I'll take care of their ticket. And it's
That's
just,
great.
Don't let them know until after I've left.
That's great. That lets me think of Natalie Ryan Ramirez, who has the nonprofit Wise Widowed Parents, and she does that, and she has been teaching her 2 children to do that. She calls it Random Acts of Kindness, and they'll go to Starbucks and they'll pay for the person behind them and things of that nature, and that's a great thing. That makes you feel good too. It's nice to reach out to people who really need help, but it's also nice to just do something random to someone who doesn't expect it. And I know it also promotes kindness in others, because Natalie said when she went through Starbucks and she paid for someone, the next time she went to the same Starbucks, they had a huge number of people who followed suit. It's like it's contagious. Kindness is contagious. That's so great, Terry.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's amazing how certain things happen around too that you don't even make the connection. I was talking to my niece last night, and she was saying, well, Saturday, her and her daughter were going to be going on a UCAN walk. And I said, what's that? She says, it's the Cancer Society, and her company is sponsoring her and her daughter. And they said what they could do is they will make a donation under whoever's name you want to put it in. So they said, okay, we want to do it under Melody's name. And it was supposed to be like a 3-mile walk. And I said, now that's on Saturday? She says, yeah. And I said, okay. I said, you want to hear something good about that? I said, Saturday was supposed to be Melody's 50th birthday. And I thought she was going to drop the phone.
Wow. I remember you said, and it's hard missing those birthdays too. That's so hard, missing the anniversaries and all the special dates, and you're just kind of sitting home alone going, well, now what do I do? We always had a celebration, and that's hard to deal with. But you're doing really great, Terry, and I'm so proud of you. And I love what you're doing, and I think you're really making a lot of progress. And you're still so new at this, at just not even quite 9 months, to be doing kind things for others, to know that just take the dog and go somewhere. And the fact that you went to the movies by yourself, that's like really, that's like a huge accomplishment. Congratulations to you.
Well, sometimes it's just little things like that, you know, are little victories, and it just makes you feel good when you get done.
Yes, and we just have to keep going. And then once you've gone by yourself, then you can start to add to that, and you can do a little bit more and a little bit more. And the next thing you know, you're living what feels like a normal life, even though it's still different. And even though you may still have some loneliness and that kind of thing, you have gotten yourself back into a normal life. I know for me, I had a problem with driving a far distance by myself after my husband died. And finally, it was New Year's Eve, and it may have been maybe the third year or so, a friend invited me to go to Austin for New Year's. And I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought, Robin, this is your chance, and it's only, what, 2.5 hours or whatever. And just by going, I felt so empowered. Like, you know, it really wasn't that big of a deal. It was just something that I had in my head.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just something simple like that, that once you've accomplished it, you know, well, I can do this again.
Yes.
And it just makes you feel good that, okay, and you kind of feel that you're doing a little bit of progress at a time.
Yes, that we just have to have those breakthroughs. We have to make ourselves do things for the first time, and then after that, it becomes easier and easier. That's so great. Well, is there anything else that you've learned that you would like to share with others before I have Sandy call?
Well, I've had, and you know, you always get different people throwing all these different suggestions to you, you know, the ones that haven't been through it, and they're saying, well, you're single now, you should be going out dating again. And I figured I'll get around to it whenever I get around to it.
Yes.
You know, it's not a big priority in my life. And I said, besides,
Yes.
I have no idea how to date. I haven't done it for 30 years.
I know, and that really is one of the strangest things, is dating again. But I like your reaction to others, which is I'll do it when it's right for me, because that's not something that people can impose on us. That's something that we have to feel ready for, because it's a dating jungle out there. And when you've been married as long as you were, as long as I was, and a lot of other people, things have changed tremendously, and you've got to be mentally prepared for it. And I think if you start too soon, here goes the cat, I think if you start too soon, then you don't react well to it. So good for you. Good words of wisdom, Terry. Thank you so much. I appreciate your friendship and your camaraderie, and thank you for being on Rob and Craig Live tonight.
Well, thank you for putting up with me.
You're the best. Have a good evening.
Right.
Okay, so I love Terry. That's Terry McCandless in Missouri. He's a sweetheart. And Sandy Charles is going to be calling us next from California. And she's been widowed for a while. It might be 6 years. There she is now. Hello, you're on Rob and Craig Live.
And hello to you, Robin.
How are you, my dear? Are you doing good?
Okay?
Yeah, are you doing okay tonight?
Oh, wonderful here in Anaheim. Beautiful day. Absolutely amazing.
Excellent. Now, is it 6 years, or how long has it been since you've been
Well,
widowed?
it has 6 years. It'll be 7 years in March of
Okay.
2013.
Okay.
6 years.
So quite clearly, you've had some time, and you've clearly learned a lot. What would you like to share with everybody?
Oh, wow. Wow. Amazing. I think one of the first things is I'm still a work in progress. You know, I think in the first year it was extremely foggy. It was a year of lots of ups and downs, times when I didn't want to face my grief, so I kept very busy, you know, cleaning my daughter's apartment, doing things that to kind of not really face it. And I found it very difficult going out with friends that I really loved at lunch, and I'd be sitting there, and I really wasn't one that would cry, and I'd be looking at my friends, and I couldn't even get through a sandwich without bawling, you know. And I learned really, I had to, I think, face my truth. And that really took time to face the reality that my husband was gone and wasn't coming back. And now it was me. And I think, in all honesty, first of all, I want to thank people that really gave me wonderful suggestions from the bottom of their heart. And one night when I was really feeling down, I Googled the word widow, and I found, or maybe she found me, Michelle Neff Hernandez. And I don't think anything happens in life by accident. And she connected me with other widows through email. And then that summer, she had the first Camp Widow for widows from all over the United States. And I met some amazing ladies from New York and New Jersey and just all over the place. And what I discovered is it took us less than 30 seconds at the wine tasting, I think it was, to just say, how did your husband die? Or da-da-da-da-da. And, you know, and we were sharing. And that sharing, it was like, oh, we got it. We got it. We understood each other. We didn't have to justify that we were feeling what we were feeling. We shared our experience. We shared the things people would say to us that threw us off guard. Sometimes, and people mean well. They mean very well. But it was difficult. You know, people would sometimes say to you, people you knew 30 years, who had never told you you looked good, and because you put on extra makeup that day, they come up and they go, wow, you look really good. And you're thinking, gosh, it took my husband to die for someone to tell me that I look good. Or, you know, I even had a priest come up to me one time, and George had only been dead, like not even, I think, 2 months, and said, well, are you dating yet? And I looked at him and I go, Father, really, are you serious? You know, and I just kind of blew my mind. And then I kind of thought, people really care, but they really don't know what to say, and they're not in your shoes. And then others would suggest go to a grief meeting. I went to one, and it was probably too soon, but I still learned some nice things. The first meeting I went to, they suggested, you know, have a memory box, put things in it, things that so I cut up one of George's old football shirts from high school. Now, he was 60 years old when he died, and I had that old shirt for eons. And I would cut that up, and I would take some of the old cards he gave me from Valentine's, and I put that in the box. And little things I would find that reminded me of him, I put it in. And there were times I really needed, every day sometimes, to take things out of that, to look at it, or maybe to go get his shaving lotion and keep it around, and smell it a little bit, or touch one of his shirts. And I had to find things that gave me comfort and know that I was okay.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And that summer, going to Camp Widow opened me up to the concept of finding a new normal. I hadn't heard that idea before, and I believe that was Michelle Neff Hernandez who brought that. Find your new normal.
Yes.
And then other widows shared how they discovered talents they didn't know they had. They became authors, or they went after their passion. And I thought to myself, well, what are my passions? What am I passionate about? I always love working with teens, and the first year I backed off. I stopped teaching. And there was a knock on my door one day from ladies from church, and they said, Sandy, we need you. Come back. And I realized that, you know, it's not my style to be reclusive, but I was becoming reclusive. I was sitting in front of the TV, and I was eating tortilla chips like, you know, I didn't know about Bonitos. I'm sure I would have eaten Bonitos up to the, you know, the sky. But I was eating my grief.
Yes.
That wasn't a positive.
Yes.
And so I think I learned some of the negative things I did, and then I turned them into a positive. I went back to teaching. I was talking to someone at church one day about how my husband did gardening and loved plants, and you know, and this gentleman looked at me and said, well, why don't you do it? It's not rocket science. And I went, oh. And he said, just dig a hole and get some potting soil and put the plant in and fertilize it. And, you know, I started gardening a year ago. And so I put myself out there. I do some volunteer work. I do go to Mass every single day. That starts my day. That's something I have always loved to do, and it just physically gets me on my knees. I surrender it to God. It doesn't mean I don't have days I go back to square one, because I do. And I accept the fact that sometimes life gives you lemons, like you say, and you have to make lemonade, but sometimes you have to take the time to go with the feelings you have and cry it out and have a good cry, and then you go forward. And for me, it's cathartic
Yes.
to have those moments. And
Yes.
even Mother's Day this year, I sat down for a few moments and I thought of George, and I thought, hey, son of a gun, I really do miss you a lot. I wish you were here. And I felt the tears coming, but then I didn't stay in that moment. I thought, thank you. You gave me a good life. Thank you. And I'm
Yes.
grateful for what I did have of those 35 years. I'm grateful for the ups and downs. I'm sorry there were times I didn't tell you I loved you when I should have. I remember there were times I might have, wanted to kill you, but I certainly didn't want you dead, I wanted to keep you around, I've learned to be grateful for things.
Yes.
The practical things people told me about, keep a notebook, because the first year my train of thought was not good. I love to read. I love to read. And the entire first year, I could not concentrate and read a book.
Yes.
I knew I was beginning to heal when I took up a book while I was visiting my aunt, my elderly aunt in Hemet, and she gave me a book, and I looked at her and I thought, oh, she doesn't know. I can't really concentrate. I took that book, and it really was after the first year, and I read it all the way through, and I thought, okay, I can go forward,
Well, Sandy, it's what I'm hearing is that you reached a point where you understood that what you were doing in your grief was not working. You were isolated, you're spending too much time home alone, you were eating foods, just obviously trying to be comforted, but
Right.
you reached a point where you just realized it wasn't working, and you took action, and look at you now. You're such an inspiration, honey.
Well, I give talks to teens at retreats, and, I didn't ask to do it. People just came to me, and they said, would you start giving talks? And I said, well, I've never given talks to teens. I mean, I've taught religion for over 12 years, volunteered, and I started doing it, and I kept getting asked to do it, and I love it. I love the teens, and I put myself out there. On a practical note, I kept a to-do list. I write things down. So the times when I have those senior moments, or especially that first year where it was easy to forget things, I wrote things down every day, what I was doing, even if it was as simple as clean the toilet or vacuum the living room.
That's
or call
great.
so-and-so, or
That's great,
meet
because,
with a lawyer,
when you
meet the will. I wrote every little thing down.
Because when you do, Sandy, it allows you to realize you're making progress, because sometimes our minds are clouded and we look backwards and we really don't see the progress. We don't think we've done anything. But when you look at your list and you go, you know what? I've been doing some cleaning, and your sense of accomplishment is just really increased. Well, Sandy, I think we're going to have to come back and do a whole nother show with you. I just can't believe that our time is gone, because
I would like to thank you and thank everyone else. And I think I would end it with, for myself, I had two choices to make. One was I could live dying, or I could die living. And so my choice was to die living.
Wow. That is, I'm so glad that you said that. What a wonderful thought to end the show on. You would rather die living. That's so beautiful, honey. Well, thank you for watching the show, and thank you for sharing your pearls of wisdom.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night. Boy, this hour certainly raced by quickly. I want to thank Nyla Dutcher, Terry McCandless, and Sandy Charlesworth for some wonderful information. So if others are watching the show and maybe they're a little bit newer at this, that they can get some tips to help them move forward in the most positive manner, because people who are not widowed cannot understand what we go through. And even though their intentions are good, when they give advice, most of the time on the inside we're going, oh no, that won't work. But when you hear advice from those who are widowed, you think about it and you go, you know what, that makes sense, I want to try that. So I thank you guys for watching Robin Craig Live. Join me every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. if you're on the West Coast, and stick around in the chat room. I'm going to stick around for a little bit and we'll keep the dialogue going. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I will look forward to seeing you guys. Thank you so much for joining me.